sure what happened there. Tried to get out of the way, I couldn't see past the car that was behind me.
to if you could get away with it. We're watching Charles Leclerc on the stopwatch currently, another fastest first sector from him. If you want to ride on board with Charles Leclerc, you can, of course, do so, and we are riding on board with him. On the left-hand side of your screen, there's a QR code for you. It'll help you get to your Sky Sports app. Use your Sky Sports ID to log in. Sky Glass, Sky Q, Sky Stream, or Now. Customers, just press the interactive button on your remote control. Team radio and onboards, all available for you. And by the end of the qualifying, if you're using the onboard channel, you'll be watching from behind the sofa with your hands covering your eyes, because it's frightening.
Yeah, like me right now. I love that little drift from Charles through Raskas. He just got the rear nicely rotating to get the good exit.
And it worked for him. 10.5 up on Lando Norris. Carlos Sainz, point scorer in each and every one of his 9 Monaco Grand Prix that he has started. Crosses the line, 10th fastest only for Williams. Karun Chandler. Why is there 3/10 difference between Leclerc and Norris in the first sector?
That's where he was strong yesterday.
That one's just gone for the first sector.
Yeah, but I mean, we sort of saw that difference yesterday, didn't we? Between Leclerc and the McLarens. First sector in Leclerc's favour, middle sector McLaren. The middle sector is a load of slow corners. You go through, you know, Grand Mirabeau, the hairpin, Portier, and then the chicane. Whereas the first sector is a bit more flowing. You've got the punch up the hill as well. And high speed, we know, is a strength of the Red Bull. We saw it in Imola, the first sector there, they were very strong.
Verstappen to the end of the middle sector, 34.2, which is pretty decent, but once again he was quite strong in the opening parts of this lap. Remember when he got pole ahead of Fernando Alonso here, Max Verstappen in 23, and he took 2/10 out of Alonso's time just on the final sector, which is pretty unheard of here in Monaco because it's such a short sector. Goes fastest.
It does, and at that point, you know, if you've pushed really hard, especially on the soft tyre, they've taken a pounding, especially traction.
That's the Alpine right in the way there, and I don't think it could really have done much to get out of the way. Quite frankly, Franco Colapinto was the car. Piastri goes 4th fastest.
He did have a little snap at Raskas as well. I don't know if that was the issue because of the dirty air in front. The car was going so slow, unlikely. So I think he was a bit on the nose there anyway.
Yeah, he'd matched Lando, hadn't he, the first 2 sectors. If anything, he was maybe a 10th up on Lando's time. So yeah, Piastri will be there in that fight with Verstappen and Norris up at the top.
Gabriel Bortoletto throwing his Sauber car around, man who's out-qualified Nico Hülkenberg in the past 2 qualifying sessions. The last classified finisher, hasn't he, Bortoletto? It's the last 3 Grand Prix that he's finished. But he says, don't judge me on total performance or lack of points. That was Tsunoda ahead of Hadjar.
No, that was dangerous by Yuki.
Well, Isaac Hadjar knows a thing or two about slow-moving cars in the tunnel.
It just shouldn't happen.
That's the thing. Jensen was saying quite rightly yesterday. You should never, ever be going slowly in the tunnel. Ever.
Well, not on the left-hand side as well.
Yeah, my bad to Hadjar. That's not ideal.
But it's where the light changes as well. I mean, your eyes take half a second to get used to the sunlight as you come out, and that's exactly where Tsunoda-san was.
No further investigation from the stewards on that one. Oh, and he did. Kimi Antonelli to Gabriel Bortoletto. That's where Kimi hit the wall yesterday during practice.
Colapinto's struggling, isn't he? Like yesterday, he was a second off. We thought, did he have a problem or something on the lap? But again, today, he's a second off Gasly on this first run of the tyres. So we'll see as the session unfolds, but this is proving to be a bit of a challenge for him this weekend.
He was without Lance Stroll's issue after being hit by Charles Leclerc in an incident that he received the penalty for. Colapinto would have been last in FP1, and I think was last in FP2 yesterday. Ted, down to you.
Yeah, thanks, Crofty. Just down looking into the Alpine garage. I interviewed Colapinto after the session, gave him every opportunity to say whether there was an issue on his fastest lap, and that, you know, there wasn't. He just sort of rolled his eyes and said, well, you know, I wasn't able to get a fast lap in for whatever reason. I just wonder how much that is the, you know, the drive fast, don't crash thing. But he's clearly not happy with the car on the limit, but we'll see what he manages to do in qualifying. Just a quick one in Williams, just looking into their garage. Alex Albon not saying he was particularly happy with the car yesterday, but the speed was still there, targeting a top 10 at least in qualifying with both of them. But is Sainz struggling a bit today from what you're seeing?
He is at the moment, but could be on a different plan though, and not quite as lightly fueled as others. I'll tell you who isn't struggling, it's Charles Leclerc, lap after lap. He's right up there, and he's into the 1:11.5s now, 10th up on Max Verstappen. Hamilton third and Tsunoda fourth. On the weekend, he becomes the most experienced Japanese racing driver in Grand Prix ever, getting... was it Yuko Katayama, wasn't it?
Katayama.
Yeah, the previous most experienced Japanese driver.
Leclerc is he's just dynamite around this place, isn't he? I know he's more familiar with every inch of the street than anyone else, but he is just spectacular to watch.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah, completely blocked me.
I kind of didn't sense the arrival of Ocon, didn't see in the mirrors, and yeah, that was a blocking. I mean, it is practice. Yuki acknowledged that it was his fault, put his hand up and said, yeah, look, sorry about that, Isaac. But this is what happens when people try and make a bit of a gap, because you need 5 seconds, 4 or 5 seconds at least here not to be disturbed, and they want to make sure they can do that to start the lap. Karun, take us through this.
Yeah, using lots of curve at the apex of Saint-Devote, then up the hill. So just an amazing feeling when you go over the crest of Massenet and chuck the car in to the left-hander through Casino Square now, dropping downhill. He's got a little bit of traffic in front, which is again Tsunoda, but I think couldn't see behind the trees, but let's assume he got out of the way. But he's down, isn't he? He's a long way down in the first sector, so maybe Piastri's taking the best out of these tyres. We'll see as the lap unfolds. Yeah, rear of the car again squirming about. So the track temperature 41 degrees. Maybe those rear tyres are crying enough. Let's see if the chicane felt like he went a little bit deep in the first apex there, and that compromised the line for the second part. Just looking from high up now. Plenty of curb as we come through the second part of the swivel chicane. The car didn't land off that curb particularly well on the rear, and again coming back to the ride quality is being quite important around here, more so than most other circuits, as Piastri up to the line improved second and third sector, but the first one was down.
Scruffy.
Yeah, interestingly, Alex Albon's just done an 18.6 in the first sector, 4/10 up on what Norris has actually done in the first sector.
Verstappen, little problems with him. Those medium tyres working so well as he crosses the line to extend his advantage out in front. 3/10 now to Charles Leclerc. Here comes Alex Albon. He goes fourth fastest. So whereas he might have been struggling in the early stages here, now we're into the second half an hour. He's right up there in the top 4. Pierre Gasly next to cross the line. Gasly's been a pretty solid performer, I think, in qualifying of late. That's just 11th for him as it stands.
what's Stroll doing? He's just used to this with blue flags, isn't he? No, good. I'm happy the car is giving me a good feeling. It's just, I need to see where it can be quicker.
Encore sur la suspension et des membres à sortir avec l'Alpine de Gasly.
I have so much instability, I don't know why.
Copy.
A lot of four-wheel sliding into the 8 and the last corner.
Okay, understood.
To the top 12. Stroll crosses the line. Albon stays fourth, 4/10 off. Here comes Yuki Tsunoda, stays seventh. Not much improvement going on.
No.
12 minutes to go, and this is normally the time of the weekend where we'd see quite a bit of improvement. But that track temperature keeps on rising, which, you know, it's getting hotter here. Great for those that are sunbathing on the yachts, but it's not what the tyres want on the track.
Yeah, Leclerc did a very good first sector, but same like Verstappen, you know, the lap starts well, but I think the temperature issue means that they're not able to hang on. Let's see what Piastri can do. So again, same trend.
Yeah.
Improvement for sector 1, sector 2 a long way down. So Hamilton, let's have a look at him, Crofty.
The trouble with Piastri, not only did he drop time in the middle sector, but he was 2/10 down on those that he wants to be around about with. Through the first sector, Piastri crosses the line, goes 6th fastest. He's 6/10 down there. Hamilton's a lot closer as Gasly moves 15th. Hamilton crosses the line. Top 2, something like that, go. So he lost time in the final sector.
But it's ever so close. Look, second, third, and fourth are within 700ths of a second.
Yeah, it's getting to the point now where, you know, previously they've just been building up to it in terms of every lap they did, they got faster. Now you got to get on lap 1, and that's also tricky in these, you know, in these conditions.
But that comes back to what Ted and previously James Vowles were both saying, right? So far, the fastest time has been down on the medium tyre in the whole session.
So you might need to keep 2 sets of mediums back if you can. Lewis Hamilton has only got 1 to take into this. Norris and Piastri only got 1 set as well. Good middle sector from Lando Norris, his best of the session so far. Crosses the line, and a la Lewis Hamilton, good middle sector, and then fell away towards the end of the lap. Stays third fastest. Verstappen's had enough and he's coming to the pits. George Russell is way down on this lap, 0.6 off through the first 2 parts of the lap. Those that have kept a couple of sets of medium tyres in this temperature, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But has anyone of the leaders, or those we think going for pole, got 2 sets of mediums to take in to the qualifying session? Charles Leclerc has. Max Verstappen hasn't, because he's used one. George Russell, Kimi Antonelli, Russell's used a set. Russell hasn't used any mediums. Antonelli hasn't used any mediums. So there might just be 1 set of mediums for those that will be thinking of pole today.
Yeah, I was just thinking about Mercedes. I mean, at no point of the weekend so far they look like they're challenging the top 3, 4 in the timesheets. And let's be honest, George Russell has pulled out some pretty surprising performances in qualifying, outstanding performance in qualifying. So it might just be, again, engine mode, fuel weight, Jensen was explaining earlier. But there's not been a flash of performance anywhere, has there?
No,
like, in the past, you've seen a sector or something. It's just not happened so far this weekend.
Most of them are not gaining in the last sector, are they? So it's obviously the tyres going away from them, overheating. So are they going to have to start compromising in qualifying? You know, for turn 1, turn 2, take it a little bit easier so they have those tyres in the really important zones, which is the last 2 corners for traction.
Here we go. Middle sector, fastest of anybody for Oscar Piastri here.
Or is it about how you treat the tyres on warm-up, and do you maybe have to go a little bit more slowly to gently bring them in, or can you attack and be aggressive to keep the temperature? Piastri second fastest behind Max Verstappen, and he lost the time to Verstappen in the first part of the lap. So maybe he has tried what you suggested there, just to back off a little bit in the first part.
Because his last sector was actually good.
It was. I think it's tyre preparation, isn't it? And I said this right at the start, not just on track, but also to what temperature do you heat the tyres in the blankets? How long are they in for? We know it's up to 70 degrees for 2 hours in the blankets, but you don't have to go up to 70 degrees. If you don't want to, you might actually want to keep it a little bit lower so the tyres are at different pressures and maybe a bit more robust when they come out of the blankets.
Love to have a chat.
I'm no chef, I don't know.
It's just so much that the drivers think about. That's the thing. And it's, these are the conversations they'll all be having in the 2-hour gap between the end of this session and getting ready for qualifying.
People are going for double calls as well. All right, well, you tell me what you want, because at the moment we're nowhere and I'm running out of ideas for this session. So we're doing the double call.
Yeah, here's an idea for you. Charles Leclerc, fastest in the middle parts of this lap. And if you're doing double calls as well, boy, does that make it confusing in Q1.
For traffic management for engineers. Oh, Leclerc P1.
So Charles Leclerc, to the delights of the local Formula 1 fans in the grandstands, pops up right towards the end with a time that's half a tenth, 0.05 of a second faster than Max Verstappen.
It's 1-year anniversary, isn't it, of him working with this man, Brian Botzi. They started together in Monaco last year and won first time out. I was talking to Charles about that on Thursday, and he's saying he's actually feels like he's got a very young team around him now. He's got his performance engineers, all of that. They've got a nice, young, energetic dynamic going on there.
Oh, that was close.
It was.
Lando Norris through the chicane has put in a 33.6 for the middle sector, fastest we've had so far. Yeah, hello. Lando can sniff an FP3 fastest time, I think, here. Is that rear sliding a bit too much, though, to give him good traction coming out of the final corner? Crosses the line third fastest.
Did one already, man. It's undrivable, these tyres.
But he's nearly 700ths, only 700ths off the pace of Charles Leclerc, and Verstappen is finding things just overheating a little bit in terms of the tyres.
Yeah, his best time is still come on the medium tyres, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's why I think the frustration for him.
Hang on, 5.5 minutes to go, and Lando Norris now puts in his best first sector. Kimi Antonelli puts in his best first sector. Lewis Hamilton puts in the best first sector. So is it trial and error, JB, where the teams will try a few things to treat the tyres and then they absolutely smash it at the end?
Yeah, exactly. They'll be trying to do different cooling methods. Lewis obviously had a not so good middle sector because he's backed out. Not sure if he's going to think about going for another one or pit. That was big over the curve there. When both rear tyres leave the ground, that's not normally a positive.
That was proper airborne there from Lando Norris, and that's the landing for Lando.
But, yeah, I mean, you know, this is the middle of the day.
That's the traffic, mate.
That's why he backed off in the middle sector. It wasn't his choice.
Let's just take it off. You know, we're obviously middle of the day now, coming up to 1:30 local time. The temperature should start to fall, particularly when we get to Q3. It might still be up at the start of Q1, and that might again swing the sort of decision back to the soft.
Fuel burning on the Ferrari, it's a little bit lighter, and Charles Leclerc is finding time. Verstappen isn't currently.
Still great space. Ferrari have put Leclerc in a lovely bit of clear space here, and that's helping him get the rhythm, I think.
All the congestion is out of Casino Square at the moment. 2.8 or 0.028 off with Max Verstappen further away for Charles Leclerc. Into the 1-minute 10s for Charles Leclerc. Suits the fan club very nicely indeed. Tsunoda keeps out of the way for Piastri. Piastri was 3/10 down on Leclerc on the first sector in this lap.
The other thing with the traffic, there's only one car in the entire first sector at the moment, is Liam Lawson. You know, there's places where you can find a nice big gap, and Leclerc was the same.
Gasly's got the best gap out there, look at that.
Yeah, now, so let's keep an eye on them and see what laps they deliver. Piastri runs up to the line and does not improve.
P4 for Oscar Piastri. Verstappen with his best time on the medium tyre. It's amazing, isn't it, how the car handling and balance changes from one set of tyres to another. Oh, we've got a double yellow being waved currently. Quite sure depending on what's happened at the moment. We've got green pretty quickly though. Carlos Sainz wants to get away from Liam Lawson as far as he can.
Yeah, Lawson was on a push lap, but because of the double yellow, he backed out of it. And then he'll have to cool the tyres and recharge the batteries, presumably.
Ollie Behrman's on a push lap, and he's just far enough back, I think, from the car park that's forming around Raskas as people try their hardest to get some clear space. If I was Ollie Behrman, 10-place grid penalty, I'd go into qualifying full of fuel and just go round and round on a set of soft compound tyres just to see how it is in race conditions, because he's probably going to start last with that 10-place penalty.
Stopped at the Casino Square.
And he has on the outside of Casino Square. There is Lewis Hamilton. Oh. And he has hit the barriers rear right, and that is a red flag.
Front right.
And front right too. Yeah, there you go, JB. As the camera pans back, we can see the tyre. Now that's a very unusual place for a car to be hitting the barriers. Now I wonder, has he had a bit of a tank slapper there, and that's just waggled at the rear and thrown him completely out of kilter?
Yeah, it looks like he might have had a moment, I'm assuming, coming around because the Hotel de Paris, the left-hander, and touched the outside barrier, or has he kissed the inside barrier at Casino Square, the right? We'll have a look in a moment, I'm sure, but it looks like generally it's the outside barrier that you end up hitting when you just carry a bit too much speed, which is actually, Crofty, remember the thing about Fernando Alonso, 2010 in a Ferrari? Yeah. Exactly the barrier that Fernando Alonso hit in a Ferrari.
It was. Felipe Massa, did he hit Massenet once as well in an FP3 session here, a little bit sooner than that. Might need a gearbox change. You're not going to get a penalty for that, but let's ride on board. Up Beau Rivage we go. Massenet is the long left-hander, and then we get into Casino Square and see exactly. Oh, and that's where it started. So it was Massenet That was exactly where Fernando Alonso hit.
I mean, I don't know what he was going to do if he didn't crash, because he was going to crash into the cars in front.
Guys, hit the wall. Damn. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
But this is the problem. You're arriving at such a high speed there on the limit, and you've got a car in front which is losing you all your downforce on entry. So, you know, it's Lewis's mistake, but I mean, he's definitely not in a. It's not an easy situation for him at that point.
That could be risky for the gearbox, I think.
Because they'll change it.
Yeah, I think to be safe. They've been burned here once before, haven't they, with Leclerc, where they didn't change the gearbox. You know, when he crashed in qualifying on that occasion because of the penalty implication.
Yeah, they check things over, and then next day he didn't start the race.
And I think it's not worth the risk.
Who did you say crashed?
Lewis in turn 3.
Exactly. From the highs of Charles Leclerc, fastest in that session, to the lows for Lewis Hamilton, who has crashed at Massenet. 5th fastest, but he was trying to improve his pace at the end of that session. And, well, there's evidence once again, JB, that mistakes are easy to find around here.
Yeah, they are. And, you know, I have to put some of that down to, personally, that there was a car in front. It definitely hurts your downforce through there. You're so loaded up through that corner, massively high-speed corner. You're risking a lot at this point. You've got low fuel, trying to get that last lap before qualifying. And, you know, a loss of downforce definitely has hurt him there.
No surprises that the session wasn't resumed. Checkered flag should have come out, actually, because we've now gone past 1:30 in the afternoon. That is it for practice. And I think the upshot is that in these conditions, Ferrari are still very much in it, and Charles Leclerc, if it was qualifying purely on confidence, he'd be on pole position already.
Definitely, you know, especially because he did it right at the end. You know, Max has had a couple of tough laps out there, but it's fresh in Charles' mind how quick he's been. Obviously, we're not going to get the practice starts, which is not a great thing for the teams. You know, they need that information.
They've only got, what, 159 metres from pole to the first corner. They don't need practice starts here, JB. They've done enough of that in the past. For me, look, Charles Leclerc, high on confidence, flying, finding the way to treat the tyres. Track conditions are going to change a bit before qualifying. Does that bring Verstappen back into play? But where are McLaren here? They seem to be losing a lot of time in that first sector that they're finding very difficult then to fully make up.
Yeah, exactly. Their middle sector is very strong, as good as anyone, and sector 3 very close, but it's the first sector, 2 or 3 tenths down, and it's such a short sector as well. It's 18 seconds long. It's you know, it's 3 corners,
and it's mainly straights.
Yeah, it is. It's the drag up the hill which is the biggest one.
So can they take a little bit of wing off? Does that give them a bit more of a helping hand?
I'm wondering if it is that, or if they're just not getting the tyres working for turn 1. They don't have the confidence to hit the brakes hard like the Red Bulls and Ferraris.
Oscar Piastri, 4th fastest in that session. As he wanders away to the briefing rooms. Williams were right up there. Albon and Sainz. Race control have just noted Antonelli and Ocon, who were the cars ahead of Lewis Hamilton at Massenet. And the stewards might have a little look at that if they take, or if race control take a view that the stewards should. And you say, Jenson Button, you know, that could well be down to the cars in front causing that accident, because they were going too slowly, they were too close to a racing line, and Hamilton was being affected by it. We'll see what happens ahead of qualifying. We already know that Lance Stroll with 1 place and Ollie Bearman with 10 places go in with grid penalties that they picked up yesterday. But what an intriguing session that was. Practice 3 for the Monaco Grand Prix, and Charles Leclerc fastest again. He returns as the winner from last year, and so far no one's been able to catch him in the practice sessions, but now it starts to get a bit serious. Verstappen setting his fastest time on the medium tyre. Who will use the medium tyres in qualifying and when? Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri 3rd and 4th, Hamilton 5th, Ferrari with a slight rebuild on his car in the next couple of hours. Franco Colapinto has been noted for a red flag infringement. Could that be another penalty coming? Did he overtake as Ollie Bearman did did yesterday. Stewards will be looking at that one. Out of place, Kimi Antonelli, George Russell down in 11th place. Where's Mercedes' pace for this one? There's a lot of questions still to be answered, and in qualifying, they will finally be done so. What a practice session that was.